Good Thursday evening and welcome to the NCWLIFE Evening News. I'm Grant Olson. Before we get to today's top news stories, let's take a quick look outside our absolutely gorgeous weather window from this afternoon. Let's take you up to the Billy Goat Sky-Fi Tower camera up in Okanagan County. The bottom of your screen, of course, the Methow River joining up with the Columbia River, and that's Pateros. A little farther up on the screen is Brewster in your shot with some high clouds. You can see Mount Kalispell on the Canadian border, and just a beautiful day all across north central Washington. And I'll tell you what, get used to it. Over the next few days, we are going to see an absolutely beautiful first weekend of spring. Remember, spring happens tonight at 8:49, almost 8:50 tonight, and we'll officially, I should say, be into spring. Highs this weekend. That's more for Spokane because the Weather Service is based out of Spokane. We are going to be in the 60s with lows about 30 to 35 degrees, and we will stay mostly dry and mostly sunny right through the upcoming weekend. More weather coming up a little bit later on. And now the stories we're following for you tonight. Just 4 days after opening, the drive-through coronavirus testing station set up by Confluence Health is now closed. The chief medical officer for Columbia Valley Community Health spent almost an hour this week answering COVID-19 questions via Facebook. The COVID-19 response has reached local superior courts, and the head of the State Department of Agriculture says there's no need for the public to be concerned that store shelves will go empty. But first, we begin tonight. Officials from throughout the Wenatchee Valley gave a joint press conference this afternoon on the COVID-19 pandemic. The mayors of Wenatchee and East Wenatchee joined other speakers to encourage social distancing to minimize the spread of illness. Almost all of them called the public health effort a once-in-a-generation project.
You know, I'm 56 years old. I've been through a few events in my life. Maybe watching the man land on the moon and 9/11, and you remember where you were on certain events. And this is a time in our country's history where we need to do extraordinary things. And some of the folks in my generation don't know about those things. And so here's really a request from your leaders that there are things that we can do as a community to make us healthier and prevent this pandemic from spreading. And it's extremely important that we take measures now. And so it's our time in our community to do great things. We will come out of this, but right now it's time for us to take extraordinary measures.
It's a very unusual situation. We haven't been here in public health terms for probably over 100 years. And so it's something we all need to respond to. Personally, my approach is to remain calm and remain focused. And I hope that as many of our neighbors and friends can do that as possible, because that's what we need to do.
I finding that this community is really resourceful and creative, and I encourage people to, continue to find those ways to reach out to your neighbor. Maybe that does not mean that you're going over and sitting down and having coffee, but maybe it's a phone call. Or maybe it's just a text message or a funny Facebook post that you put out there to encourage your neighbor and help folks along. This is difficult. People, the emotional roller coaster ride that folks are feeling is real. And the part that we can play to support each other that way is great. I love that creative thinking.
Health officials at the press conference stressed the need to keep coronavirus infections down so health resources are available for people with other medical conditions.
So at Confluence Health, we unfortunately had the one individual a couple of weeks ago who was hospitalized and has passed away with this disease. And in our screening over the last few days, we have had 2 patients come positive with that. 61 others over the course of the last 2 weeks that we've been intermittently testing are negative, and there are 308 pending samples out there. The other message I want to give off the bat is COVID-19 is not the only health condition in this city or in this region. All of the usual things like heart attacks and strokes and infections from other organisms are continuing. There are still people with diabetes, there are still people with high blood pressure, there are still people with asthma, and we need to continue all of those healthcare efforts. because we will come out of this and we will still be a community, and we're going to need to have healthy people in this community to carry us forward.
This is a special time. And now our biggest partner for keeping people healthy and well is the community itself. You know, it's often said that health is determined more by what individuals do than by what happens in a doctor's office. What individuals need to do now is exactly what Peter and Barry were talking about. Staying out of large groups, staying at home, call it social distancing, call it whatever you want. That will do more to make sure we get through this as well as we do than anything else.
As of today, 66 people in Washington have died from coronavirus-related illness, and more than 1,100 are known to be infected. Well, just 4 days after opening, the drive-through coronavirus testing station set up by Confluence Health is now closed. The health system shut down the North Emerson Avenue site after it became clear there weren't enough available test kits to meet demand. The station was overall a success, taking samples from dozens of patients and detecting at least one positive case. But now Confluence Health says those test resources need to be devoted to those most at risk of serious illness, including the elderly and immune compromised. The drive-through station opened on Saturday and closed down on Wednesday. Well, the chief medical officer for Columbia Valley Community Health spent almost an hour this week answering COVID-19 questions via Facebook. Dr. Malcolm Butler fielded concerned inquiries about the virus on Tuesday afternoon while practicing social distancing at the same time. First on the agenda, flattening the curve of infection so that health services aren't overwhelmed.
So when you think about how we have built clinics and how we have staffed hospitals and the distribution of hospitals in this country, it's based on an assumption that maybe 2 to 5% of the population is going to be sick at any given time. So as the hospitals are exactly big enough to take care of the average number of sick people in any given town. We never build hospitals that are too big because they're super expensive. We never hire too many doctors because they're super expensive too. So we have exactly the right amount of facilities and staffing in those facilities to handle the average amount of illness in our community. So what would happen if an enormous epidemic comes through and a whole bunch of people get sick at exactly the same time? And the answer is that the healthcare system would be rapidly overwhelmed. And people say, well, it's not going to be that sick. You know, we hear about people dying, but that really is a small percentage of people and tend to be people with other illnesses. And I myself, I'm young and I'm healthy, so why can't I go out to a bar? Why can't I keep running my business? So I want you to think about two curves. One curve is a steep curve like this. And it's what would happen if we didn't put anything in place, any measures in place to slow down the spread of the infection. Whole bunch of people get sick really quickly and then they get through it, and it takes about 1 to 2 months for that to happen. The flattened curve comes on more slowly, not nearly as many people get sick, and it goes away in maybe 4 to 6 months instead of 2 to 3 months. The difference between those two is that our healthcare delivery system could probably handle the flat curve.
You can view that entire segment on the CVCH Facebook page. Well, the COVID-19 response has now reached local superior courts. The Washington Supreme Court on Wednesday gave guidance for local courts to help prevent the spread of the virus in their courtrooms. Douglas County Superior Court Judge Brian Huber promptly postponed all criminal and civil trials until at least May 1st, and Chelan County Superior Court Judge Leslie Allen issued a similar order today. Many cases will be heard by telephone. Public offices in both counties are closing in response to the pandemic. The Chelan County Assessor, Community Development, and Noxious Weed Departments all will shut down on Monday. The Chelan County Sheriff, Human Resources, Public Works, and Probation already closed their doors to face-to-face business earlier this week. Douglas County Commissioners passed a resolution on Wednesday to close all access to their county offices starting today. Both counties encourage residents residents to use their online services as much as possible. That web address for Chelan County is co.chelan.wa.us. For Douglas County, it's douglascountywa.net. Well, the head of the State Department of Agriculture says there's no need for the public to be concerned that store shelves will go empty. Director Derek Sandison said Wednesday the food supply chain continues to function and the state and federal government are working to ensure it continues that way during the coronavirus outbreak. Trooper John Bryant of the Washington State Patrol was out Wednesday at a rest stop near Clayellum checking on part of that supply chain.
Bryant with the State Patrol, your District 6 Public Information Officer. I'm here at the Indian John rest area in the trucker section where the commercial vehicles are at. You can see a lot of them lined up taking a nice rest. Why am I here? Well, to let you know that the federal government has relaxed a lot of the commercial vehicle standards for them to get goods and services to everybody, especially anything medical or goods that everybody needs, toilet paper, water, those things that you shouldn't be hoarding. What I want everyone to do out there is, give the truckers a break, and I want the truckers as well to just follow the rules of the road. You'll get there and we'll get stores set up and good to go. So let's help each other out on the roadway.
Coming up next, an alleged drunken driver early this morning led police on a chase from South Wenatchee across both bridges and back almost to the starting point. After a car and a foot chase, a 20-year-old Oregon man was arrested early this morning near Warden as a suspect in the theft of ATVs. The Chelan County Board of Commissioners announced yesterday the appointment of the new director for the Chelan County Regional Justice Center. And Link Transit began offering free rides today and will continue to do so until further notice. I'm Grant Olson, and you're watching the NCWLIFE Evening News.
When it comes to finding a memory care community, you want the very best. You want to know that your loved one is safe and receiving compassionate care in a loving environment. Fieldstone Memory Care is an innovative assisted living community designed for those with Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's disease. You'll find a community specifically designed to enrich residents' lives. The Fieldstone team is here to help you navigate the important decisions you face when a loved one has dementia or Alzheimer's. Welcome home to Fieldstone.
Arctic Refrigeration and Heating has been serving North Central Washington for 34 years. Arctic provides the finest heating and cooling air quality products for residential and commercial customers, along with prompt and professional customer service. Arctic also offers specialty services like custom sheet metal fabrication of ductwork, coil cleaning, as well as planned fall and spring maintenance for the overall well-being of your system. Arctic is available for emergency calls 24/7. Call Arctic Refrigeration and Heating for your heating and cooling needs.
At Local Myth Pizza, we believe in real food, freshly prepared with only premium ingredients. Our cheeses are imported from Italy. Our sauces, dressings, and even our sausages are made in-house fresh daily. Featuring Northwest craft beers and 30 Chelan Valley wines and ciders. Family fun and amazing food. Eat local, drink local, and be local at Local Myth Pizza.
Come see why Sunset Magazine says you can't beat Local Myth Pizza.
Welcome back. In another news, an alleged drunken driver early this morning led police on a chase from South Wenatchee across both bridges and back almost to the starting point. Wenatchee police arrested 33-year-old Megan Rebecca Beam from Baker City, Oregon. They say she fled in a stolen car after officers tried to pull her over about 3:17 a.m. near the George Seller Bridge. She allegedly drove across the bridge north on Sunset Highway and back across the Otobashan Bridge to Wenatchee. The car was finally stopped at Mission Street in Spokane. 4 different police agencies got involved in that pursuit. Beam faces possible charges of DUI, possessing a stolen vehicle, and fleeing police. Well, after a car and foot chase, a 20-year-old Oregon man was arrested early this morning near Warden. He's a suspect in the theft of ATVs. About 3:45 a.m., Grant County Sheriff's deputies responded to a burglary call in the 21,900 block of Road 3 Southeast. There'd been a string of similar cases recently near Warden. The suspect, John B. Bueller of Huntington, Oregon, nearly collided with the deputy's car while fleeing, the sheriff's office said. During a high-speed chase, Bueller crashed his vehicle on the Lind Warden Road and then fled on foot for about 200 yards before being caught along the John Wayne Trail. He faces eluding charges, with more charges pending. Well, the Chelan County Board of Commissioners announced yesterday the appointment of a new director for the Chelan County Regional Justice Center. Chief Christopher Sharp has been selected to succeed interim director Bill Larson. Chief Sharp will officially take over the director position on April 1st. Having served Chelan County citizens for 20 years, first as a corrections officer, then promoted to corporal, sergeant, and finally chief in January of 2019. Commissioners say Sharp has all of the skills needed to successfully move into his new role, adding he possesses strong skills in communication, organizational development, and leadership. You're watching the NCWLIFE Evening News. Coming up next, tonight's feature story and your complete local weather forecast. That and much more still to come on the NCWLIFE Evening News. Stay with us.
Family roles change with time. You may find yourself being an unpaid caregiver to a loved one. Caregiving can be rewarding, but also stressful. Taking care of yourself is vital. Aging and Adult Care of Central Washington has low or no cost services for unpaid caregivers, such as in-home support, care supplies, and counseling. Connect in your local area by calling Aging and Adult Care at 800-572-4459 and mention you're interested in caregiver support.
The two hottest pickups in America are at Town Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram. First, the Ram 1500 with back-to-back Truck of the Year awards from Motor Trend, and now the Car and Driver 10 Best list for 2020. They call it a luxury sedan with pickup capabilities. Ram is on a roll now with third-generation eco-diesel power. Next up, the Jeep Gladiator, also a 2020 10 Best model based on the new award-winning Jeep Wrangler. It has options and capabilities that no other truck can offer. Two more reasons when it comes to buying a truck. There's no reason to leave town.
Traditional values and innovation in honoring the life of each family we serve is part of the ministry of Heritage Memorial Chapel. Our staff is committed to walk with your family with compassion through this time of grief. We are here to help and here to serve, the right kind of help when you need it most. Heritage Memorial Chapel.
Time now for a check of your North Central Washington weather forecast. And before we get to those details, how about this shot outside our weather cam and our Sky-Fi tower camera provided by Localtel, looking down at the beautiful Wenatchee Valley from Wenatchee Heights in our cross camera. Just another fantastic day out there today. Our last day of winter. Spring begins at 8:49 p.m. tonight. And by the way, that is the earliest spring in 124 years. Normally spring starts on either March 20th or 21st. Here we are on the 19th, first day of spring tonight, and it sure looks like it out there. Temperatures reflect it too. Awfully nice out there. Unofficially today, 59 degrees at Pangbourne Airport. 55 is where we should be for this time of year. 34 was our overnight low temperature, almost exactly where we should be for this time of the year. 36 is normal. 68, our record high temperature, beautiful one back in 1999, and our record low, 19, that was set back in 1965. Sunrise 7:04, sunset now at 7:13. Let's take a peek at your Friday forecast and see what you think of that. And you know what I think? I think you're going to like it. Temperatures all over North Central Washington in the 60s tomorrow. 63 in Moses Lake, 62 Ephrata, Quincy, Wenatchee, Ellensburg, 60 to 61 degrees. Even upper elevation spots. Leavenworth, 58 tomorrow, 59 in Chelan, and also 59 your high temperature tomorrow in Omak. Taking a look at that surface loop now, not a lot to show you until we get into early next week. Tonight, spring will spring at 8:49 p.m. and we expect partly cloudy skies and just mild temperatures tonight with overnight lows mainly in the mid-30s for North Central Washington. As we get into your Friday forecast, boy, it just couldn't be nicer. First full day of spring, and it will definitely feel like it. Sunny and mild weather all across North Central, or I should say the northwestern part of the United States. The yellows, remember, indicate 60s, and we are going to see widespread 60-degree temperatures all over eastern Washington. That goes for Saturday as well. unseasonably warm. We could see middle 60s in some locations on Saturday, and we're going to continue with that nice weather as we get into the end of the weekend on Sunday as well, with mostly sunny skies and warm temperatures. Most of the blue areas, the 40s, will be dabbled through the Rocky Mountain states. Most of us just nice weather until we get into Monday. Sunday, you can see that storm system forming, and here it slides down into our area, and that could bring a little bit of shower activity into Monday, a 20% chance of rain. It will cool down a little bit too as we transfer into a more northwesterly flow, and that will bring some cooler air in. Still cooler for Tuesday and up to a 30% chance for rain showers. Boy, it's just mucky all over the northwestern United States on Tuesday, but that will all end as we get into our hump day Wednesday next week. As high pressure once again begins to build in, we will clear out in central and eastern Washington. Mostly sunny skies next Wednesday with high temperatures about where we should be in the middle 50s. Let's take a look now at your Patriot Plumbing, Heating and Cooling 7-day forecast. 35 the overnight low tonight, 61 tomorrow, sunny, 62. How about that as we kick our weekend off on Saturday? We're going to stay in the 60s on Sunday before we get just a little bit wet on Monday and Tuesday, with temperatures cooling back to where we should see them for this time of year, mainly in the mid-50s. And that's a look at your local weather forecast. Coming up next, tonight's Sports Report with Eric Granstrom and more as the NCWLIFE Evening News continues right after this.
Hi, this is Brian Snyder with Black Rock Asphalt Services here in Wenatchee, your local Black Rock seal coat company. Have you looked at your driveway or parking lot lately? Is it gray and oxidized? Does it have cracks that have not been taken care of? Or do you have striping that is pretty much non-existent? Please give us a call locally here, 509-665-9769. Learn more at blackrockasphaltsealcoating.com.
And now it's a sports update on the NCWLIFE channel.
And a happy Thursday to you. The Seahawks have dipped into the free agency well and pulled out a former first-round draft pick from 2012, Bruce Irvin. According to NFL's Network's Ian Rappaport, Irvin will return to the team that drafted him with the 15th overall pick out of West Virginia. He played 4 years in Seattle before leaving for Oakland for 2 years, Atlanta for a season, and then spending last year with the Carolina Panthers. In 119 career games, Irvin has recorded 301 combined tackles, 52 sacks, and 3 interceptions. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, the Seahawks are also bolstering their offensive line. Schefter reports that Seattle has reached an agreement on a 2-year, $11 million deal with former Jets offensive tackle Brandon Shell. Additionally, ESPN's Jordan Schultz is reporting that Seattle will be signing offensive tackle Cedric Ogbuehi to a 1-year deal worth a maximum of $3.3 million. While the NFL plods forward with free agency in a time of restricted movement and personal communication due to the COVID-19 outbreak, Major League Baseball continues to move back its expected start date. Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred says they had hoped for an April 8th opener, but now it's looking more likely sometime in May or even June.
Biggest topic is obviously with the CDC announcement, we're not going to be playing April 9th. We're not going to announce an alternate opening day at this point. We're going to have to see how things develop. I think the commitment of the clubs is to play as many baseball games in 2020 as we can, consistent with the safety of our players and our fans. Secondly, we did have a conversation about ongoing operations in club facilities. Clarified, emphasized with the clubs that there should be no organized activities in the camps. We did agree with the MLBPA that spring training sites would remain open, but it's the thought there is with a skeleton crew, really to give players some place to use a gym as opposed to being forced out into a public gym and the like. And we're really encouraging players to make a decision as to where they want to be over a extended period of time and get to that location as soon as possible.
Seattle Mariner players and coaches have been sent home from their spring training complex in Peoria. Players could be seen exiting the facility Monday with multiple bags, loading them into their vehicles and preparing to head home wherever that may be. The West Coast League continues preparations for its 16th season, scheduled to open June 5th. In a statement this week, the Summer Collegiate League said it is monitoring public health announcements and complying with guidelines and regulations. With the suspension of baseball throughout colleges this spring, what's offered by the WCL and similar leagues may be the only baseball these collegians will have to play this year. The Wenatchee Apple Sox are moving forward with their belief of a season opener June 4th at home against the Highline Bears. Well, I know there are better ideas out there than my own on how to imagine some form of solitaire sports, but you have to send them my way. In the meantime, here we go with another edition of No Sports, No Problem. So what's a sports guy do when there's no sports? You continue to make up games that you can do very cheaply and with items you probably have around the house. Today, it's tabletop bowling. All right, here we go. First of all, mark the table with the tape. Again, ask mom and dad if it's okay to put tape down. This is gaffer's tape, so it doesn't really stick that much. I also put pieces of tape down around the base of all of my dry erase markers. You can use whatever you like to make up your pins. And then, of course, we've got your choice between a golf ball and a ping pong ball. So the choice is easy. And then also this, if you teach the kids how to keep score, helps with the math skills while they're playing bowling inside, having a good time while everybody's under quarantine. So let's try some tabletop bowling here. Okay, tabletop bowling. I'm going to try the ping pong ball first. That might be a little bit more of a challenge, not so much weight. So here we go, rolling the ball. Okay, that didn't work so well. Let's try the ping pong or the golf ball. That'll probably work a lot better. All right, here we go. Knock down 2 pins, got to pick up 8. Second roll. Oh, almost got them all. Not bad. There you go, tabletop bowling. That's what a sports guy does when there's no sports. I'm sorry. Grant, back to you.
Thank you, Eric. That's my favorite so far. Now let's check in with Dan Kuntz. So let's do this first. Link Transit began offering free rides today and will continue to do so until further notice, the agency said. Link is waiving its fares in response to the COVID-19 outbreak, saying by bypassing the fare box, it will lessen close contact between drivers and passengers. Earlier this month, Link assured its passengers its buses and vans are cleaned and disinfected nightly and are equipped with disinfectants drivers can use throughout the day. Now let's check in with Dan Kuntz to see what's coming up tomorrow morning on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Dan?
Thank you very much, Grant. Tomorrow is the first full day of spring, and we have a gorgeous weekend, as Grant has already mentioned. Our guest tomorrow will be Leslie Freitag, the Executive Director of the Pybus Public Market. How is the Pybus Market handling the current situation? We'll talk to Leslie about that tomorrow on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley, plus your complete weekend weather forecast, whatever sports Eric can scrape together, and everything you're used to. Live, local. Start your day with the information you need. Wake Up Wenatchee Valley tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Grant, back to you.
Thank you, Dan, and that's going to do it for our newscast tonight. For more on these stories and other news from around North Central Washington, you can find us on Facebook or our website at ncwlife.com. And remember, if you see news happening, we'd like to hear from you. You can send us an email at news@ncwlife.com or give us a call at 888-6295. I'm Grant Olson. Thanks for joining us, and have a great night.
Caitlin Hedershe, the producer of the NCWLIFE magazine. Each week, I'm bringing you a look behind the scenes of the faces, places, and events that make North Central Washington the place we call home. Tune in every weekday for an in-depth look at a new topic each week. From local artists in their studios to businesses breaking barriers that might surprise you and everything in between. Join me on the NCWLIFE magazine right here on the NCWLIFE channel.
I'm Sean Lee, and I'm inviting you to check out the NCW Movie Guide to keep up on what movies are playing in our town.